Right. 23 April 2022, and I'm joined by Senator Khaliphani Phugeni. Good evening, Senator. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? And good evening to our listeners, wherever they may be in the world.
Okay, fantastic. And today we are going to be continuing with our discussion on Operation
Okay.
Dudula. You saw that this weekend we had the burial of another person that was killed. This time it's a South African person, Komoto Deale, who was buried. I think it was this morning. He was killed after Operation Dudula went into chicken farm, and they had a confrontation with people who live in that farm. Did you see that burial?
Okay. No, I didn't, but I'll get into that. Let me just say this just before we get to today's topic, because this after our last recording, I was a bit inundated with calls, and of course, some people don't really understand, but others I expect them to. That's the reason why I'm addressing this matter. I'm here on my personal agency. I'm not representing anyone at all. I don't represent an organization. I don't represent a government. I'm just here as a citizen offering my views. So it's going to be important for people to keep that in mind. And those who were calling me with bright ideas, wanting me to forward them, I don't have much of that capacity. I can agitate through the media, through parliament when I have the platform, but you are better off getting organized yourselves. And those that are in South Africa, there is a wonderful ambassador from Zimbabwe. They don't come. Any diligent, decent, and hardworking as the ambassador of Zimbabwe in South Africa. He will be open. He will be very, very helpful. I just thought it's important I put that one out there because people, others are genuinely confuse me for speaking on behalf of organization, government, or whatsoever, but others just being mischievous and think I'm here on a partisan. No, I'm just here as an individual talking to a friend. And I might as well add this one in. I'm not here to answer questions as people think that I'm here to answer questions. No, it's not like where we speak before and come back and says, I'm going to ask you that question or that question. No, I get to know sometimes 2 minutes or a minute before the show what we are going to be discussing about. So these are just two friends discussing their views, and we may differ here and there, we may agree, but that's just what is happening here. So to what you've asked me, and my condolences goes to the family of, to the Diale family. It's very, very unfortunate that we now find ourselves in this tit for tat environment, largely created, as I said last time, by an irresponsible liberation movement, which has brought us to where we are. It's a sad thing that they are allowing this young man. I'm deliberately not going to mention his name because I think we're giving him too much attention, which he doesn't deserve, but he craves for it. So I'm happy you didn't even put his picture now. Please assist us. So don't put that picture. Let's not name him. He will remain unnamed. They're just allowing him to go randomly go out there, harass citizens, harass residents, harass even migrants. Doesn't matter their status. He has no such mandate from anyone to go about doing what he's doing. And the lack of courage from the powers that be to rein him in, is extremely disappointing and discouraging.
Okay, Senator, let's go to the detail of what you've just said. Since we last spoke,
Yes.
the police have revealed that at least 4 other bodies were found in Diepsloot. Yesterday, 2 other people were shot in Diepsloot. They were shot dead. Here in Midrand, up the road, a young Zimbabwean man was killed by a mob. In Limpopo, 2 Zimbabweans were killed by a mob accused of stealing cables. And obviously, about 14 people were arrested for killing Elvis Nyati. They appeared in court yesterday. This is becoming bigger than one person. It's becoming a nationally accepted thought process that foreigners are causing problems. Do you think that the government right now, in fact, let me add one more. UNISA, we posted today that there are calls for Zimbabweans to be removed from positions at UNISA because they say that UNISA is being run by Zimbabweans. Is this not becoming bigger than one person? Is this not becoming a national security threat here in South Africa?
Well, okay, let me go to the question of the national security threat. No, it's not yet a national security threat. It's got the potential, but it's not yet there. And I hope they don't lose control of this. You will recall that the IFP was formed by the ANC. The IFP leader was an ANC Youth League member. And as far as my information serves me well, to this day, he has never renounced the membership of the ANC. And I may go as far as saying he claims that he is a member of the ANC. He's never denounced the membership of the ANC. And he has gone as far as accusing the provincial leadership of the ANC messing up the relationships, or rather messing up the potential of the IFP going back to work with the ANC and becoming one. So I hope that they don't lose control of this clown and he becomes a factory fault, because there is that great potential. And then we will indeed have a security threat. Because I can tell you one thing, this UNISA thing you're talking about, I think Peter Ndoro rebutted it extremely well, because then what he had to do, he had to show the management structure of UNISA. And there wasn't even a single Zimbabwean, strangely enough, a single Zimbabwean. But you see, with this crowd, the type of vigilante group that has been created, it doesn't matter. It's not about facts. It's not about logic. It's not about reason. It's expedience. It's political expedience. Let's create a distraction. So that, as I told you, when we go to that national conference, the issue is about migrants in particular, migrants in general, in particular Zimbabweans. That's what that conference must be all about. Leading up to 2024, we win, hooray, that's nice. And then we try and diffuse this, this tool that we have generated. And I hope it doesn't get out of control. I must tell you something, Kambaku. Migration does not create problems for South Africa. I don't think then the ones who are pushing that agenda, they don't understand how especially a global economy works and how emerging economies benefit from migration. It is the migrant labor that has done much of the mining in that country. Mining, which is a big foreign earner of that country. It is the migrant labor which is taking care of their hospitality industry, which is one of also of the largest contributors the GDP. It is migrant labor that has helped with their education. Math, science, teachers in that country largely come from the diaspora to assist the local teachers and population, because we know they come from apartheid system, which gave Black people inferior education. I can go on and go on. The management of all these conglomerate big companies in that country, most of them were from the diaspora or from Europe or from the Americans. So you really can't say migrants are a problem because you are dealing with people who work in our gardens and homes and all these menial jobs, and then you ignore the role which migration has played in terms of lifting up that economy. Let me give you another shocker. The current president in South Africa, when he had his presidential team, part of that presidential team had one of Dabengwa's sons, the late great Tumiso Dabengo. And I think even when they formed the ESCOM or whatever, I think the intervention, whatever of ESCOM, he was part of it. He is a migrant. So it's really, it's a diversion, as I've told you. It's a waste of time. You remove all the migrants from that country, it becomes a security threat because the economy is not going to work. There's going to be serious social upheaval there. Do you know how many Zimbabweans have got South African children? So
Well, I've
what
got
I
two.
kick out the parents and leave the children there.
I've got two South African kids, so I don't know. Just between us here, I'm sure I've got four.
Yeah, you see, so I mean, honestly speaking, what are you going to do? You see, because whether they like it or not, Zimbabweans now have got South African children. And so there's nothing you can do about that. But I told you again in one of our recordings that most of these so-called migrants, when they live in the backyards of South Africans, and I know of a certain man who's making in excess of 15,000 rands a month from the backyard dwellers, migrant backyard dwellers at his house there. So you are going to disrupt much of the township economy. You are going to disrupt the social structure. You are going to disrupt the economic activity of the country, because we know that most of the plumbers, electricians, all those boiler makers and whatsoever, much of them are migrants. So I'm really not sure of what they are going to do. The last point is this one. And this is a clarion call to all the diasporians in South Africa and even around Africa here. We must make South Africa pay economically. I know here in Zimbabwe there is Pick and Pay, there is Multi-Choice, I think, which is DSTV, and many other companies. Do not harm life in any way, shape, or form. But there is a lot of disruption we can do. We can boycott them. Those that are good on the ICT sector, we can really clock those systems. There's a lot that we can do. We can barricade the borders there to make sure that South African trucks don't come into any African jurisdiction outside the South African borders. There's a lot we can do as Africans to send a message to Pretoria that their behavior is inhuman. Their behavior has not gone unnoticed. We have noticed it, and we are censuring them, and we are showing them that this far and no further. Because we know that when President Zuma's administration came and there was that global downturn, he turned into Africa. And South Africa's business, much of the economic activity of South Africa was derived from African countries. And this is not the thank you are expecting from them. I saw a clip by President Mbeki saying, during the liberation striking, arms will come into Zambia. They'll be collected by the Zimbabwean army, which now had stationed themselves by the border, the South African border, take the arms there, and then the South Africans will come and collect the arms and take them to go and fight apartheid. We expect a better appreciation of how they got their independence from than what they are doing now. Am I supporting illegal migration? Not at all. But I'm simply saying, anyone who's accused of anything, is it illegal migration, is it murder, is it rape, is it whatever, you take them through due process and you convict them. After they've served their time, you deport them to their country of origin. You don't ban people in the streets. And I must say kudos to them for having arrested 4 people. We have to follow that process thoroughly to see that those people are convicted and the key is thrown away, to discourage crime, especially such heinous crimes. Because if they didn't do anything, that would have been an incentive which I think has been happening in the past, which would have been an incentive for those criminals to say, this barbaric manner of dealing with people, this government supports it.
Okay, Senator, so let's bring this to a conclusion. The leaders of Operation Dudula,
Yeah.
what responsibility should they take for the death of Komoto, Elvis, and the other 4 or 5 people that I've mentioned here? Should they be arrested for this? Dudula went in to chicken farm, and and Diale got killed. Are they not responsible for his murder?
Look, if you are not going to be able to hold them accountable criminally because of the higher standards beyond reasonable doubt, but I'm sure that you can hold them civil. They did on a duty of care to all of these people that are dying, because we know that had it not been of the actions of Dudula, all of these people would be alive today. We know that for certain. We know that. So there is cause to effect, and as I've already told you, that the state has a lot of apparatus at its disposal to deal with illegal migration. It's got that. The state has a lot of apparatus at its disposal to deal with any criminality that is happening in South Africa. When individuals do what Dudula is doing, it's called vigilantism. And the state has to be strong and make sure that it deals with these vigilantes. They are capable of doing that. But the mere fact, because now I think with everything that has come into light, I don't think anyone can now disagree with the notion that these young men were talking about, and this movement is an ANC creation. No one can disagree. So I think that is where the challenge is. How do you deal with this factory fault that is clearly running away and getting out of control?
Okay, so let's look at the criminality. They went into chicken farm, people get killed. Can these guys be arrested for this? What can the government do right now?
Well, we don't know because, look, we were not there in the first place, and whether the defense will be, it was self-defense, because we don't know what they did there. The videos which we see of this pepper soldier going everywhere, threatening people around with many unspecified actions, that can be very threatening. And so I think the defense that this will have is to say we're defending ourselves, we're provoked, we're being attacked or whatever. So we will see how that plays out. But I'm saying it must be made clear to this vigilante group that they have no right whatsoever. If they are suspecting any criminality anywhere, what they do is you go and tell the police, and the police go and do their work, and they don't have to do their work supervised by this vigilante group in front of cameras and all those things, because there are rights, there are human rights there at stake, you know. So you treat everyone with dignity, because remember, everyone is presumed innocent until proven otherwise by a competent, the operative word, competent court of law. So you can't have this clownish movement turn the country upside down, claiming to be doing work which the police are not doing. What do they know? They know nothing. They are not police. And all these things that they are trying to do, they are not going to be able. By the way, the question of national security also involves diplomacy. So the truth of the matter is that the South African government, if it doesn't handle much of the political disputes around its neighbors, this issue of migration is really going to be a problem. You can see Botswana is imploding as well. You can see what is happening there in Botswana. So if they fail to handle the issue of Botswana as well as a regional superpower, you are going to have Botswana also flock there.
I do
You
agree.
know,
Yeah, the
that
situation in Botswana is very worrying.
the Swazis are flocking there, the Basotho are flocking there, Zimbabweans are flocking there, the Mozambicans are flocking there. So very soon, because of what is happening there in Botswana, you're going to have the Botswanas flocking there as well.
Okay, Senator, I think this topic is developing, and I wish that the dying or the deaths would stop, because you know that when the police went in to arrest the suspects at Chicken Farm, someone was killed there. One of the guys in the house, the police arrived there, he pointed a firearm, he was killed. So people are dying around Dudula. Everything that Dudula is doing is resulting in death, and it's hurting ordinary people. You saw the children of Elvis Nyati. They are poor people, they have nothing. They do not even have a birth certificate. I think Ezra assisted with that process of getting birth certificates for them. It's so painful to watch. Diale's family, you could see that they're ordinary people, and all these people that are dying, they're dying for nothing, as far as I'm concerned. So I think
that's what happens with irresponsible leadership. Irresponsible. All that goes to leadership, by the way, Kambako. Just to make this point, I'm saying this to make this point. Every time when I come to this platform, I consider the words I have to say very, very careful. You know, I can also be a populist, you know, and just go rampant. But I can tell you that there's a thin line between guiding people to a shared, a positive outcome, and a selfish outcome where the ends justifies the means. So it's a very, very sad situation that the poor are being used, back to that issue of class struggle, that the rich, the powerful, the ruling elite are using people to remain in power.
So what I would encourage everyone who's watching to do is to go and watch the speech by the leaders of Dudula during today's funeral. That speech is very, what he said there, you will see that there is a lot that is happening behind the scenes. These guys are seeing themselves as their mandate is grown. It's no longer about cleaning pavements or foreigners or illegal activities or criminals. I encourage you to watch that speech.
I discourage yes. people. I discourage people to give that guy the oxygen he's craving for. I'm happy with how the South African media is going. They are almost ignoring him, and he's extremely frustrated that they are not coming to his side. Let's just ignore that guy and his fringe movement. We have had the serious movements in that country like Pahat. Those guys were deadly. These guys are paper tigers. Trust me. We just have to deny them this energy which they need. Let's just ignore them. We must do our best not to inflame the flames, and try and stay as safe as possible. Those migrants that are involved in illegal activities, it is in our interest to turn them in as quickly as possible. But like I told you last time, I really don't want to entertain that, because statistics do not bear that. After we left in that interview, you saw the gruesome murder of a child in the Eastern Cape. You saw that gruesome murder.
Yes.
Of a child in the Eastern Cape. That was not by a Zimbabwean. There are many crimes that I'd written them down, but I'm no longer interested in bringing them to the fore. That happened since me and you spoke, and there wasn't a single Zimbabwean there. So, or a foreigner. Right. So that's very, very important to say. This scapegoating of foreigners must stop. I don't know. I can only believe that there are backroom channels, diplomatic channels, that the African Union, that SADC is doing with Pretoria. I'm sure that that must be happening, because if it's not happening, it's criminal. It will be criminal of our leadership to ignore this. You know, there's something which happened to George in the United States of America, and every one of us were saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. That was gruesome. But I can tell you that that man did not wake up in the morning and say, I want to kill this guy. He thought he's still punishing him, he's still torturing him until he died. But with Elvis, they wanted to kill him and kill him in the most gruesome manner. And all of us are just relaxed, like, oh, one guy has died. Okay, life goes on. No, that's not it. There should have been protests. Those protests must still be going on right now. Right now. That's how you put pressure to these fringe and murderous vigilante groupings. But if we just talk about it now and just let it go, it will not stop. So really, decent people, progressive people must be talking about this. And one of these days, there must be a large protest there in South Africa to bring attention to this, not only in South Africa, but throughout the African continent. We must coordinate this, and all of us go on a big, massive strike just to send a message to our leaders in Africa that you cannot talk of coming together as far as economics are concerned, and yet you don't want people to come together. Why do you want to trade together, yet you want to restrict the movement of people? If goods are allowed to move, people must also be allowed to move.
Okay, Senator, I think you've covered all the important points. And specifically, you said this is not yet a national security threat, but if the government of South Africa fails to act, it's going in that direction. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Yeah, you see, most of most of our friends at home in the CCC, they come to my social media and bother me a lot and say, you haven't said anything about the by-elections. Unfortunately, we were scheduled to talk about them, and then there was a funeral in the family, and I was not available as a result of that funeral. Suffice to say, the good showing in the by-elections by the CCC sends a strong message in context. In a certain context, it's a result worth celebrating. Very, very important in a certain context. But in the bigger scheme of things, it's a cause for concern they are showing in the elections. So we will celebrate, if I was them, with regards to that context which I'm talking about. But I'm sure that they are strategists and they are numbers guys. When they are seated there in their offices, they should be extremely worried. If they are not, then I'll have problems with their capacity. So in a context, celebrate, very, very good. But the bigger scheme of things generally,
Okay, do you have anything to say about the treatment that Dr. Kupe was getting by the Blawayo? Because I think that question arises.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm comfortable to answer that. Remember, I've just told you that in the bigger scheme of things, that result, you can't celebrate it. And this continued ill treatment of Dr. Kupe by these groupings, largely from Mashonaland, who are engaged in narrow ethno-nationalism, is going to cost them big time, massive time, because trust me, the people in Matabeleland read it for exactly what it is. It doesn't matter how they want to paint it. I can tell you this for sure. Even NC knows this. He has a much closer working relationship. He had a much closer working relationship with His Excellency than Dr. Kupe will ever have. I doubt if Dr. Kupe ever had the HE's number, but I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that NC's emergency to the top position of the MTCT was courtesy of HE. So the unfortunate thing is you sit there, you know that this was for political expedience. We're fighting for position. A lot of lies were said about a person, and you want to treat those lies like they were true when you know very well that they were not true. I'll give you one example to make this point. The recording which emanated from Dr. Kupe's visit to England, I think it was by Simba. You know, it was tampered with. There were certain things which were removed and whatever to paint as having said that I'm in politics for money, which everybody knows. She has always said that she wants to change the economic position so that there is money in the country, then people can take their kids to school and whatever, and everyone has money, this whole politics thing falls away. So I'm not quoting a verbatim, but she has repeated that line over and over again. Words were taken out and whatever, the whole thing was edited and it came out bad. Now, at that time, it was serving a purpose within the MTCT politics. Tsvangirai was supposed to be succeeded. So you needed to paint this person extremely bad. I understand that at the time. But now, since you agree that you need her, you need each other as opposition forces, you can't allow all those things to go on and go on, because Zan will eat you alive and split you. You have seen what they have done. I think it's the prophet Makandiwa.
Yes.
During the Easter, you saw that.
Yeah.
You saw them releasing Bishop Maponga go to the ZCC there. I'm telling you, that machine has now been turned on. That machine has been turned on. They are going to make use of all their surrogates as much as possible. So if you are the opposition and you want to challenge such a big machinery like that, you also have to be big. You also have to have a lot of voices. Now, just to illustrate this point as I close, President Joe Biden was not massive on rallies. I think we all saw that. But do you know how he won? He had a lot of celebrities. Some of them leave Hollywood, go throughout the country, basically camp there to send his message to almost everyone. And I think that's the other weakness within the opposition, is that you have this politics of saying, let them decrease and I increase. You are not going to win. And I'm telling you, that whole Makandiwa thing tells you, that whole ZCC thing, there are more things that are happening. 2 weeks ago, I went to see my maternal grandmother. When I get there, they tell me that MP so-and-so was here to give us meal and what and all those things. They're like, but this guy is not an MP. No, he has just lost a by-election, but he brought these things after losing a by-election. So there is a complete new approach of the ruling party in their approach to elections. Complete new. So in the olden days, they will give people who were aligned to them this food and what. Now they go to my relatives to give them food, right? So indiscriminately, they just go and say, okay, we are an old person. We are giving meal to old people. Here you are. It speaks to them. That is why you'll find that they are now referring to him as MP so and so. So there is that progress which is happening in the cities. This is in the cities. So they are beginning to plow into the cities. And now you won't be surprised to see their PR numbers rise. And now in the PR, remember, we have the youth quota on top of the women quota and the Senate. So you've got the youth quota. So that 2/3 majority, if you are going to start denting it, you'll stop internally looking and start to look externally. I hope I'm making sense. This is a subject on its own that we will have to deal with. But I just thought, let me just delve into that, because they've been saying a lot on social media. But congratulations for the win. in a certain context, but in the bigger scheme of things, you ought to be worried. And kudos to him, by the way, NC. I think what he's trying to do is what Chuchu did when he left the Youth League. He left with a structure then, an infrastructure, but he completely turned it to something new. You can see that the EFF is not the ANC at all. They have an ideology and all those things. So his biggest challenge now is to give an ideology which can be followed, which currently is absent ideology. All we are doing now, that may not be his design or his desire, but that's exactly what is happening. Politics of adulation. That's all. Who sings more, who shouts more, who praises more, and then that person means it's good. No, you can't. You must have an ideology, and it's those that support, that understand, that push that ideology. God forbid anything happens to him. Anything happens to him, what happens of his project? Because I've been friends. Good night.
Right, Senator, I really enjoy talking to you, and I don't take for granted the fact that you are speaking from a country where network is not really good. So I appreciate the effort that you're making to be here and the love that you are receiving. You are now the most watched person on this channel. And I wanted to let you know, Senator, that I am going to be moving to Zimbabwe within the next 2 years for good. But I also want to take with me as many Zimbabweans as we can. So we've got a project in Kariba. Once we have our first project done and we've got a few houses built over there, we want to provide as much real estate as possible at the lowest cost as possible to many, many Zimbabweans who are in the diaspora to come and live in a resort town. So this is something that we're working on, and I hope that we're going to get a lot of support, especially from the Zimbabwean government, because currently we're doing this privately. It's not easy to get land, and we're paying a lot of money to get this land. So I hope that the Zimbabwe government gets on board with the projects that we're working on. We are literally not getting any support on this project. And this is something that there's so much appetite. I have got literally over 1,000 people right now who want land so that they can go back to Zimbabwe, but they cannot get it. So it's really difficult.
Yeah, I wish you well, and we will try and assist as far as we are capable of. I really, really wish you well. Talking on the issue of homes and whatsoever, of course, there's a certain market which you are catering for, but considering my left politics, one of the things, just to help you understand the whole frustrations of everything, one of the things I wanted to do when I started really seriously campaigning in 2018 was to try and say, we have tried this model of giving large tracts of land to private developers who then sell to whoever has money. But there are a lot of our people here who are renting. So if I'm going to be a public representative, one of the things I need to be judged on is how many people have I moved from the rental market, kind of like renting people's homes and rooms, to almost renting something which they can own. So I was thinking, let's have certain lands as we sell some tracts of land. Some of them must be for the council where they build flats. You do six stores or so of flats with 2 to 3 bedrooms there. Then you can take all these people that are renting, they go there, they rent direct to the council with a plan of the council disposing of these flats to them and all those things. So you can really assist our people who are at the bottom. This thing which you are doing, I commend it. It's good. There are people with capacity to do that. But me, as a politician, I want to be able to take a mother or a family which is renting one room, where there's a mother and a father, whether just a mother only and the kids, and they are really struggling. You need to be able, as a government, to say, from our minerals, from our government intervention, we're able to build decent accommodation for our people which they can rent, since they are renting with the same amount that they are renting that side. But that helps people with their upward mobility. So when you come, you can help me fine tune that with your people with a lot of different skills and speciality to really push that. While we are pushing your commercial venture this side, let's push the social venture of really helping our people with the upward trajectory of their social well-being, socio-economic well-being.
Thanks very much, Senator. I know we can talk for the whole day, and you saw me in Zambia last week. I think let me get an opportunity next week to chat with you about Zambia and the poverty issues that you're talking about. There are so many things to be done. There's a lot of work to be done by our governments. And I see you as one of the youngest and most engaged leaders in Zimbabwe. And I know that the CCC guys, they know this, that you have been on the ground working without an election, without a campaign. You've been very, very visible. Similarly with Dr. Kupe.
Yeah, sorry, Kamang, let me just say something. And this thing keeps coming up. I told somebody, called me private, and I said they are making a big mistake, the people of Matabeleland in particular, because the people who I can only contest consciously in Matabeleland. It will not make sense for me to go and contest in Marondera or Maswingo. I don't understand deep issues of that place, and if you are people's representative, it's only fair that you represent your people, you know. But there is this notion that keeps trying to say the Triple C. No, for me, that's not the most important thing, which is what I told people of Mateo. And I said, you must have a democracy trust fund or so, where you are able to say, if we think this guy is representing us well, you need to be able to make sure that you support them and you sponsor them, and they are there to keep on representing you. But to try to say so and so must think that, no, that's not how politicians think. Politicians don't think like that. Politicians, when they see someone who's doing well, their instinct is to suppress them, is to damage them, is to injure them. That's not how politicians think. So if you want to assist in us being able to carry on doing what we're doing, you need to be able to come together, have some fund of some sort and whatsoever, and mobilize the community around, and things will go well.
All right, thank you very much, Senator. And let's talk again next week. This is a very difficult time. And I really appreciate your being here. Thank you very much, Senator, and good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.